Welcome to United Shades of Gray, Conversations of Race in America on WSGW. Now, here is your host, Kareem Bowen.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, those of you who are tuning in for another edition of United Shades of Gray, Conversations of Race in America. I am your host, Kareem Bowen, and I'm so glad to be able to do this week after week and have these provocative conversations, these enlightening conversations, these exciting moments with those people who are a part of the show here, starting off with my man, John B. John, what's going on?
Hello. Not much. Staying busy.
We need to get a camera for John, just like we did for Chandler.
Really, the Renaissance man, the man about town, doing a million different things.
Oh, yes.
He slides into the door as my producer. Now he's taking over the world. Good afternoon, Geraldine Bowen Walker, who is the first person in this show not to be outdone by Jenny DeMore, who are showing up in our social media line. So we want you guys to get involved. Like, tag, and share this conversation. Invite your friends. We're going to talk about mentorship today, which I think is a really important conversation. But before we do that, I want to bring to the studio our Renaissance man, the Renaissance man, my co-host Mark Baston, who is doing great things. He's on the road again. I think a part of his part on this show is going to be that Mark will travel to locations and very unique festivals and bring us a live report on what's happening around America. So, ladies and gentlemen, today he is at the Chicago, the Golden Glow of Christmas Past 2022. Mark, what's happening, my man?
I'm a new first timer here at this convention. We're in Lombard, Illinois, right outside of Chicago. And at 61, I think I'm the youngest person at this convention. So,
so Mark, this was one of the things that I wanted to really talk about. We talk about things that are hot off the press. I think this is very interesting. We had a conversation before you were going to go, and I was like, "Is this a real? This is really a thing?
This is a real thing. It's been around since the early '80s, and it's got 2,000-3,000 members globally. There's got to be. I was at the opening dinner last night. Had to be 1,000 people at this dinner, and it's people that like to, and I'm one of those people, like to collect vintage Christmas decorations. And it has to be before 1983, so it's got to be 40 years old or older. And there's, as you might guess, in any sort of collecting community, all sorts of niches. My particular niche is 50s and 60s. I like a lot of plastic stuff, wood stuff. My wife has gotten into it as well, Mary, and she likes to collect nativity scenes. So,
okay, I think this is so interesting. Mark, I know that your house was on display this past.
It was on the Zonta Walk in Midland. So,
you said Nazanta Walk?
Zonta, Z-O-N-T-A. It's a international women's organization, and they host a couple walks every year for people to look at houses to raise money for scholarships for underprivileged women. But my house was on it for Christmas. It's crazy. You were at my house this past weekend.
Yeah.
Have you back? And you didn't actually get a chance to go look around. But I'll bring you. You'll be back at Christmas time. It's crazy the amount of Christmas stuff I've got. As you know, I have a lot of artwork. My walls are covered in art. Some of the walls literally floor to ceiling, and almost all of it gets flipped for Christmas art. I have a lot of shelves with knickknacks. I like to collect things. That all gets flipped for Christmas knickknacks. And so,
Mark, where did this fascination come from? Were you never allowed to have Christmas at?
No, Christmas was always.
You're like, I promise I'm going to be the person of Christmas spirit.
No. I've always, Christmas was always a kind of a big deal in our house. I wouldn't say it was crazy, but for me, I can still remember waking up like as a kid at 3 or 4 in the morning, waiting to run down to the tree, but you couldn't because I had to stay in my room till 6 or something. And to this day, like I get up early. I have 2 sons that still get up, at 5 or 6 and just sit down there with me, waiting for everybody to come down. I don't know. It's just that it makes me feel happy. It makes me feel good.
It's family traditions, and one of the things that is so important, I think, to really building strong family communities is when we put these types of traditions together and we allow our kids. I remember very similar things. I never understood the rules. You have to go to bed. It's 4 o'clock in the morning. We're going to sleep because we are, with the anticipation. You got to go to sleep before you can open it. It's almost 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
And so
Well,
we would be forced to go to sleep, and we'd wake up, 2 hours later,
yeah.
bouncing off the walls like we were eating bags of candy overnight. And but these are the types of things that I think really bring home, what it means to be family and the things that we think about when we get older. John, did you have any? And it sounds crazy because normally it's Christmas in July, and so I guess that's why we can have this conversation, Mark.
Yeah.
But what types of things that your family have around this particular season, since we're talking about the golden glow of Christmas past 2022, the one that Mark said?
Well, my mom is huge into the Peanuts, so we have to watch all the Peanuts Christmas specials that come up, and maybe 2 or 3 times. For me, it's A Christmas Carol. I watch as many versions of that story as I can and try and read through the book.
That is it. We watch it because I think it's TBS. They play it like 24 hours.
I don't know.
And we sit there and we watch it and we laugh at the same parts over and over again.
You're talking about A Christmas Story.
Not A Christmas Carol. You're doing A Christmas Story. And so, that is one of our favorite things to watch. My mother is, of course, A Miracle on 34th Street. Those are the things. And she's on here saying, hey, I love doing that too, Mark. She's a big decorator, so her entire house is decorated. Sometimes I get bit by the bug. Sometimes I don't feel like it. Yes, someone else just said, for me, doctor.
Oh, that's a great one, Miracle on 34th Street.
Miracle on 34th Street.
I love that one.
Well, this is something interesting, and I'm glad you tuned in here, Dr. Black. Last year, Dr. Black did the most amazing challenge. She actually sang along for 365 days. She sang songs from every genre of music.
Wow.
That, singing and having a song in your heart makes, the world happy. And so she sang every single day while people were dealing with the issues of the pandemic from January 1st to December 31st. And I thought that was that was a miracle, Sabrina. Because I'm like, there's no way in the world she's going to be able to come up with that many songs. And she sang show tunes and theme songs from TV shows and just everything. And I want to thank you for sharing that time with us. If you guys are interested in going back, it was so funny because not only did she sing, but she also she also dressed in character. So if she was doing a show tune, she had the dress. It was absolutely phenomenal. She said it was a phenomenal year. I look back now and marvel myself that I actually dressed up and sang at midnight every day at midnight.
Oh, wow. Every day at midnight.
Every day at midnight. It was really, really cool. So go to her page. She's on Facebook.
Okay.
You can relive the moments. And sometimes I would catch her at a glimpse when I would be up, and I would just go back and watch 3 or 4 nights and crack up laughing. My favorite was when she did the Gilligan's Island.
Oh, I love Gilligan's Island. It's classic.
When she did the TV theme song, those were great.
What's she a professor of, Kareem?
I think she's of a psychology, if I'm not
Okay. All right, interesting.
So she'll correct me if I'm wrong. But she trains and she travels across the world, teaching and training and talking about diversity and equity and all of those key, very important things that we're dealing with now. So, Dr. Black, if you want to just throw it in the stream, what are you a professor of? I don't remember exactly. So you guys are coming in. Great to see each and every one of you. So Mark, a little bit more before we transition, just about this Chicago, this amazing event that you're at. So did you make any good finds? I know the idea.
Yeah, I'm a little obsessive. So I promised myself I was only going to get really a few things, and I've blown that out of the water. So I actually have a few things. As I said, I like plastic, and so I've been looking for this, and it was really cheap here. I'll try to, let me see. See, it's a plastic Santa. It's made by Paramount. What I really was looking for, this version that has the bubble light. So that, I got a few of these. They're called expandables. And so they're like, this one's wooden. They have them in plastic, and you can open them up. These are like the monks or the friars singing in the forest. Whoops. And they're kind of cool. I like those. I have my kids call them creepy Santas. I do too. A collection of creepy Santas. This one I got because I'm also into soda advertising, and he holds a little Coke bottle. these were out of the 50s kind of. And my kids, I have 2 kids that they just scare the, you know what, out of, because they're all lined up on the mantle. I also like these little, I'm gonna light it up.
This is hilarious to me, Mark. You know, this is another side of you that I'm learning here today, which is so funny.
This little, I like these little pixies. I don't know if they're also called, whoops, let me kind of, I'm dyslexic. I'm trying to get the camera over here. There we go.
Here you go.
Yeah, it's a little flashing light thing, pixie. And the last and most disturbing thing is
The last and most disturbing thing.
yeah, this is a Kleenex dispenser that I got. So,
Hear me
Oh
at
my
night, Mark.
gosh.
Yeah, it looks a little like the Bride of Chucky.
and like I said, I'm really into kind of creepy Santas, and so that was like the penultimate creepy Santa. So those are some of the purchases. There's quite a few more, but anyway.
Well, we all have to have our own little things. Stacey Crouch says those are nice. Too cute, Mark. You're gaining a fan base here with the creepy Santa and all of the Chicago events that you're finding out. I think this is so cool. But Dr. Just so that you know, Dr. Black said that she's a doctor of counseling and psychology and global missions.
Oh, okay.
She really traveled the world. She really has done so, doing missions around the world. I just want really quickly before we get into the heart of our conversation for today on mentorship, I want to talk real quick, Mark. You know, this is funny. I saw this statistic today, and it cracked me up. 75% of Democrats say that they desire new leadership leading into the next presidential election.
Are you surprised?
and it was funny because at the same time, there were Republicans that are finally really, you know, turning and speaking out on this whole idea of the Trumpism part of the party.
Right. Yep.
And so it doesn't like they're too happy either. You know,
Nope.
we were talking about the importance of leadership and how we're lacking leadership. What do we do in a country when no one's excited about the leadership that's present at the top of both sides?
I just, again, I don't know. I mean, I just keep thinking or believing, I'm an optimist at heart, I guess, that someone will step out of the shadow, because there is such a void of leadership at the top on both parties, that someone will step out of the shadows and come forward. I mean, I always look at it like, who would have thought, you know, Barack Obama or Bill Clinton, they kind of came out of the blue. Ronald Reagan, frankly, came a bit out of the blue, although he had been governor of California, but no one really viewed him as a presidential candidate. And so I'm just praying and hoping that someone who is a true leader, and to me, I mean, that's the failure of Donald Trump. To me, the president, job 1A is to be a leader. And to me, a definition of a leader is someone who pulls people together with a really aspirational vision of what could be. He doesn't split a team apart. And, you know, that was my big view, his big issue. Yeah. So I just hope and pray someone will step forward, because there's people out there. So
what are you thinking, John? I mean, you're involved, I guess, to some degree in terms of what's happening. You are now doing news. So I think that's important for you to kind of follow. In terms of leadership, when you look at our country, what are we going to do?
Pray. That's what we're going to do. My one thing would be I support the idea that America wasn't set up to be a two-party system. Look at those third-party candidates. Look into them. See if you agree with what they're saying. I wouldn't necessarily say compromise your beliefs to avoid these. I did
that the last election cycle. That didn't work out very well either.
But no, I've voted third party in the past, and look into what people support.
Yeah, I mean, the issue I have, I mean, I did that in 2016. The issue comes is you're in essence wasting your vote.
It's a vote against the big two parties.
But I want us to be. But I think that when I think of our nation, and we look at what it has historically been. It is a nation where we look at inspiration, and it should be inspiration. Your vote should be inspired.
Right.
And right now, I didn't see it in the last election. Let me be very clear. So I did vote for Sleepy Joe because there was no way that I was going to put someone in office that, you know, grabbed women by particular places, or just, I thought the division that was being brewed. And one thing that I love is that he was honest. What he said he was going to do, he did. Well, to that degree, he told you what he's going to do, and he did it. Whether it was ethical or unethical, you knew what you were getting. I don't feel like we have a president who is really in tune with where America wants to be, nor is there any type of a feedback from him. Like, dude, what do you believe? Make something happen. And Auntie Kamala, you know, even though she's invited to the cookout and the AKAs are excited to have her, I certainly don't want her to be vice president either. So I'm praying that Sleepy Joe stays awake, you know, long enough that he makes it to the finish line of his presidency. But I don't know what happens after that. I'm not seeing any inspiration. I'm not being inspired. Mark, this is depressing. You are the guy who sees the glass half full. Tell me what we need to do.
Well, I think Jonathan said it well. Hope and pray. I mean, someone's got us. I think like I said, I think the good thing is that there's such a lack of leadership at the top. People are so disgusted. I don't know if disgusted is the right word, or disillusioned with the leadership at the top, that it may create an opening and people are tired of all the negativity and division, that it may create an opening for someone who is truly aspirational, visionary, and a uniter. Because I think most people, forget the fringes, most people want that and are desperate for that and are looking for that, I think. So
okay, so we're gonna let that go, and hopefully we find something. Hopefully we find something to believe in. Who was it that sang the song? Give them something to believe in. We need an aspirational song.
Yeah. I mean, I go, you know, like I have this discussion with people, Kareem. I mean, we've been through this country, this world has been some really tough time, way tougher than what we're going through now. You know, you look at the 30s and, you know, 20s, 30s, and 40s with the, you know, 2 world wars, the Great Depression.
Absolutely.
You know, you look at the late 60s, early 70s with all these assassinations, you know, our cities in flames, the Vietnam War, Richard Nixon. So we've been here before.
We've been to places like this before, but we've never been here before. I don't believe we're, you know, I'm a young guy, so maybe Mark can correct us on this one. Where our nation was so polarized. The old man in the group. Where our nation was so polarized, and I feel like we're polarized in so many ways about so many fundamental things that really make a difference to people. The thing
I'd be interested in hearing from the people that were like, you know, like our age in the, you know, late 50s, or late 60s, early 70s, because there was a lot of, you know, women's rights, civil rights, you know, that late 50s to early 70s time period. Because my vision, you know, at least I was too young to really appreciate it, but you see the photos and you see there was a lot of division, I think, between the Vietnam War and race issues, gender issues, etc.
All right, we're gonna turn the page, but Dr. Sabrina Black, you're absolutely right. It was supposed to be the United States of America, one nation under God. That is something that we've taught our kids for so long, and you know, I really want our adults in the room, if there are any adults left, and it's not just the presidential candidates. I'm talking about the candidates in both houses of Congress. I just don't see the type of leadership that makes me feel inspired to do great things. And so I guess maybe we need to look at those individuals around. I think that this is a great segue for us to begin the conversation that we're going to talk about today, which is really the importance of mentorship. And those of you that are listening here to our conversation, I want you to kind of go along with us and have a great piece of understanding, listening, get involved, share your comments and your thoughts, because this is so very important. I am a person who firmly believes that I am the sum of the 5 most important individuals, the most impactful individuals who I've allowed to be in my life as my mentors. Jim Rome may think that I'm stealing a little something from him, but anyways, it's the law of averages. But I certainly think that has been such an integral part of my life. And one of the reasons I'm looking at this season for us to have who is our leadership is because leadership has always been so important to me. Mentorship and that process has been always so effectual in helping to groom me to be who I am today. Even my radio time, I look at the people that have been a part of my life, which would explain why I would find myself even in being a part of the radio because of the people that have been a part of my life. So, Mark, we're going to talk a little bit about this. We have a couple of individuals. Do we have them on the phone, and are they in the background?
Yep, we've got everybody here.
All right. So, Mark, we're going to bring into this conversation Scott Snyder, and I'm not sure. I know that I see him in the green room. We're going to bring Scott Snyder, who is a senior sales director for Dow, and then we also have Frank Sanders, who is new business development for Dow. He's also on the line, and this isn't our Dow hour. It just happened to be a conversation. We were together. Let's talk about how this happened, because we were spending some time together. Mark, you had been trying to kind of figure out how we can get people together, and just kind of, different pools of people, different, groupings and ethnics and races of people. And so you took a stab at it for the first time. Wonderful host you are by having the event at your home. We just spent some time talking and having conversations and, talking about some of the things that we talk about here. We got to know each other a little bit, and I think it was great. And out of that experience of spending time together, we began to talk about the importance of mentorship. And I thought that this would be something great for us to share on today. So we're going to bring those two individuals. Are they ready to come into the stream?
They're in. You can say hello.
All right, Scott, are you there?
Good afternoon, gentlemen. I am here. Thanks for having me on.
Okay, so we have Scott and Mr. Sanders. Frank Sanders, are you there?
Hey. Yes, sir.
Hey, yes, sir.
Hey.
All right, there you have it. I want to begin to start off, first of all, and Frank, I want to start with you because you are in the process of doing some great things, I think, as a young man. And just so the audience would know, you are someone that at a younger age I took under my wing. And so I have been in many instances as a mentor with you, and I've seen you grow as an individual. What would you say have been some of the most important things that you've learned in this process of mentorship, and how has mentorship, been effective in your life?
Oh, you put me on the spot here. One of the, if I could start with one of the most important things is just exposure. I'll say one of the biggest things that you and my other mentors have done. I mean, obviously, you being primary is exposing me to things bigger than what I've been able to see. A little bit of background. So my mother sold insurance, and I went to college, and I thought, hey, I'm going to jump into insurance sales. That's what I'm going to do. So before I graduated, I got licensed in property and casualty, life and health, and I started selling insurance. And I found out that wasn't what I wanted to do. But you stepped in and you kind of exposed me based on some of the connections you had to something bigger. And it was because of your connection and your coaching and your guidance that, I ended up learning about Dow and fell in love with the company and have had, really, really great experiences from there. So I'll say exposure is one, but then two, one of the biggest lessons I learned from you is not to quit. There was a time in my career at Dow early on as a co-op. I had a very difficult boss. And I told you, I remember this conversation, I'm quitting. I'm leaving. I'm going to sell insurance. I'm going to do whatever I want to do. I'm leaving. And you encouraged me in that moment to press on because you saw something beyond what I could see. And I think that's one of the biggest values that you provide as a mentor is seeing things from a different perspective. Appreciate that.
All right, so we certainly thank that. Sabrina Black, she said the mighty men who have mentored her: Hammond Cross Jr., Matt Parker, Willie Richardson, Christopher Brooks, Inman Asanam. We'll get it right one way or another. Let us know who your mentors are being, what has been their impact in your life. We're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll be back with more United Shades of Gray.
You're listening to United Shades of Gray on WSGW.
This is Kareem with United Shades of Gray, and today you are tuned into what I think is going to be a very interesting conversation. We want to say hello to everyone that's listening out there to WSGW 100.5 FM and 790 AM, and also those who are going to be listening in WJOL 1340 AM in Joliet, Illinois. Welcome to the conversation. Actually, if you're in Illinois, Mark Bassett is out there searching for Christmas finds at the Chicago 2020. But we're talking, and we have with us in the stream and on the radio airwaves, Mark Bassett, who you see on our social media stream, Scott Snyder, who is a senior sales director for Dow, and also Frank Sanders, who is new business development. Scott, are you there?
I am here.
Scott, so you heard what Frank was saying in terms of how mentorship, his mentors have been impactful in his life. Do you have a similar story in terms of being mentored by individuals who you thought you really had something to learn from?
Yeah, I think, and one of them, I'll give a lot of credit to Mark. When I joined Dow, Mark was one of my first mentors that I had within the company, and one of the reasons that I wanted to join. And I think having those personal relationships is really what it's all about, and one of the strongest powers that we have. And I think a couple things as I think about mentorship that have helped me and benefited me along the way, and things that I think it helps enable. I think it can help create a safe space or a safe environment. I think oftentimes you want to put yourself in positions professionally or in the world where you're trying new things or doing something that's outside of your comfort zone as a way to grow. And I think having a strong mentor or people that you can go to ask those safe questions when you don't exactly know what you're doing, but in a safe space, I think really helps you put you in a position to succeed when you're in those roles. And I think sometimes it'll also help you maybe get outside of your lane and grow, right? Going to people who are maybe outside and finding mentors who are in an area who aren't necessarily in a space where maybe your current position in life or your current company are in, helps you develop breadth of experience outside of what you're doing that I think can really help. And, I think the other main thing that it does outside of you, it helps people become invested in your own success. And so when I hear about, Frank talk about the mentor that you were for him, I can imagine the more that you were working with him and helping him, you became very invested in his success, right? And so I think there's also that benefit as well. So I think there's a lot, that can go right from working to develop those relationships with people through mentorship.
I think that one of the key things that I would really love for, especially if there's some young people that are going to hear this conversation, is to know that when you look at a mentor, some people think that I have one mentor and that mentor does everything. But the reality of the situation is that as you go through life, you will have mentors that play different roles, and you may have different mentors for different things that you're interested in or you're a part of. Mark, you are now at, how shall I say this, the golden years of your life.
I'm on the way down now.
I'm just joking, but you have more. You have spent more years as a mentor now at this point than the rest of us have. What has been the key thing? And I know that there are a lot of people that are continually asking, "Hey, will you mentor me? Will you be a business mentor? Can I stay in touch with you for advice?" What do you think has been your greatest experience as a mentor, someone who has kind of helped guide the way or the pathway of other individuals?
Yeah. For me, I think there's a real feeling of, so why do I really like to mentor? And why do I like to mentor? There's a feeling of satisfaction or happiness, I think, when you see people that you're working with grow and, develop themselves and grow and become far better versions of themselves or better versions of themselves. I think, when I look back on my life, frankly, I look at, the times I'm most happy or most satisfied or most at peace. And it's actually when I'm focused on other people, not myself. I went through one period in particular where it was frankly a bit of an emotional and psychological train wreck. And it was because I was primarily focused on me, myself, my career, and trying to get someplace. And I've found through time just great peace, satisfaction, and fulfillment working with other people to help them achieve what they want to achieve.
Awesome. What are you guys thinking? And this is really for anyone who would like to answer. I'm going to open it up for just the conversation. What do you think is the best way for someone saying, hey, I need a mentor? What is the best way to find a mentor? Where should they go? Where should they look? Because it's not like they just drop out of the sky and you don't get a mentor when you're born. So what is the best way to find if someone's looking for a mentor?
Well, I'll start and let Frank and Scott think about it. I mean, it's been interesting. I think mentorship, mentee-mentor relationships are very personal. They're intimate relationships. There's a chemistry there. And so you can't just walk up to some person you don't know and go, hey, will you be my mentor? It's something I think that has to develop organically. I've had 2 mentors that were literally my bosses at that given time, and another mentor who I would call a mentor who I was actually mentoring. And so I think it's, interact with people, observe who you really admire, the way they think, the way they do things, and try to develop relationships with those people and see where they go.
So, Mark, you don't think that you can just walk up to someone like, hey, I'm looking for mentorship. Will you be my mentor?
I think you can.
Will you be my mentor?
Yeah, whether that'll actually develop into something that's a successful relationship is a different question. You certainly can do that. I just think it's a little bit like a shot in the dark. It may work, it may not work. To me, there's a relationship, and it's like I said, maybe intimate's the wrong word, but it is an intimate relationship.
I think you're right. I agree with that. John, were you going to say something over there? I see your eyes perk up.
No, but I had a thought with what he was saying. You can't just walk up to somebody and say, hey, will you be my mentor? But I think that it starts on a single issue. It's, hey, I have a problem with this.
Mm-hmm.
I think this person could help me. And just go and ask for help on that issue. And that's a starting point.
Okay, I got you. So you're saying instead of necessarily opening, will you be my mentor? You're going in and you're asking questions and you're starting the process without actually it being formalized as you're going to be my mentor. Because you may begin to engage with that person, be like, there is no way I want to deal with this person.
Exactly. I mean, it really should be someone you respect and admire for some reason, some information, some skills, some quality, some perspective.
So Scott and Frank, how did you guys find your mentors? I mean, was it more organic the way that Mark kind of says, or was it more of, I have a plan, can you mentor me?
I would say for me, it's probably happened a little bit more organically. People that I've came across in some form or fashion, and I think you got to develop and have a genuine relationship, and it can't be transactional, right? There has to be that deep connection, I think, and you've got to probably there's a little bit of vulnerability as well that maybe you have to have in approaching people and continuing to go back and learn from them. But I would say, to me, that's the most important thing, is having it be genuine, organic. And I think to the other's point, you can go up and be aggressive and forward and asking people to mentor you, but it's got to turn into a deeper relationship for it really to have an impact, I think.
And I think that's the answer, Scott. Because there are people that I really admire, and I've said, listen, you're doing something that I really enjoy and something that I would really like to do. And I would like it if I could use you as a resource. I didn't use the term mentor, but use you as a resource that I could continually come to. And from that, knowing if they have what you need, that you have to find time to find yourself in those spaces to create, as you're saying, Scott, a more meaningful relationship. So, Frank, I know I am one of those mentors, but there are other individuals who have stepped into the scene. Why don't you talk about the diversity of mentors and the types of mentors you have for the things that you're doing in your life, Frank?
Yeah, it's interesting you say this, and the 3 of you that are on this call, I consider to be my mentors, all in a unique fashion. I think each person provides a different kind of expertise that I feel like I can glean from. But I think the most important thing you were talking about, like the organic mentorship relationships. I definitely agree with that. I believe that, the mentorship relationship should be established with someone who has a desire to mentor. So many people we meet, we say, okay, yeah, I think I can learn a lot from you. But if they don't have the desire to pour, then that connection, it maybe won't be as strong. But you
That's
talk
good.
about, getting back to your question, you were talking about the diversity of mentors. I have a mentor that I feel like is probably more like rigid and scheduled. I have a mentor that I feel like is probably a more like ideas person. I think you can guess who that mentor is. Big ideas, strong on leadership, strong on influence. But then I think about like Mark, for example. He has, the breadth of experience, and he's made it to the place where I aspire to be one day. And he can speak from a vantage point of somebody who's been in my shoes at some point, earlier in their career in corporate America, and say, okay, what do I need to do in order for me to get here? What types of experiences do I need to get? But then I think about Scott, for example. I've been pursuing an MBA. Scott's gone through the MBA process, so I can speak to him and I can glean certain things from Scott that I wouldn't be able to glean from Mark, who hadn't gone and done his MBA, right? So, I mean, to your point, we have lots of different mentors all over the place doing various things. And I apologize, I'm swatting a bee right now, so I'm trying to speak and swat at the same time. All these mentors that are doing these different things in all these different places that you can glean from, and you kind of just take little pieces along the way and kind of piece them together so that you have this kind of vision of what it is that you want to do with your life.
Well, Frank, we certainly thank you for your kudos towards Scott, but Mark and I are scientists, so we are science individuals who don't find a need to go for MBAs, physiology and chemistry. We are definitely the intellectuals in the conversation, so we won't hold that against you. But I want to say, Dr. Sabrina Black, she said something and put it in the stream that I think it's a great point. And she said that, and who are we? Here we go again, us men thinking that, hey, we're going to have this dynamic conversation, and we don't include a woman in the conversation. Stupid us, okay? So Dr. Black, thank you for saving us from ourselves. There are times when the mentor picks the mentee because they recognize gifts, talents, and abilities that need to be honed, and they want to help provide resources, platforms, and open doors. That is such an appropriate statement, powerful statement. And honestly, most of the individuals that I've mentored, it's because I've seen something in them and recognize what I would consider a raw talent, where you see a diamond in the rough, and just providing some expertise and some insight would give them the opportunity to excel. And in each opportunity that I've invested myself in those individuals, I've seen great things come from them. Mark, what has been the case? Has anyone ever come to you, Mark, and said, you know what, I see something in you. You're much older now, but at the start of your career, who were your mentors and how did you get those mentors?
Yeah, I mean, I had two, but I'd say really influential mentors, really just two. And frankly, they were my bosses at the given time. One was in R&D. I worked for the guy 6 years, Brian Keene. And I just really respected Brian, and I've always tried to develop a personal relationship with the people I work with, whether they're my bosses or the people below me. And I was fortunate enough to have two bosses that, as I tried to develop that relationship and learn from them, they engaged because they did see, a talent that you talked about. I was a difficult employee for any boss, frankly. They would get very frustrated at times, but they never gave up on me. Because they saw something in me. And so I had a guy named Brian Keene. When I think about being the CEO of the company, the way I look at business is really in three tranches, kind of inside the fence line, operations, manufacturing, supply chain. And all of my philosophies, really kind of the foundations of those come from a guy named Brian Keene. Commercially, it's a guy named Pat Gottschalk. And then organizationally, it's a guy named Corey Walker. So I had kind of three people that really set the foundation for those.
Scott, are you actively mentoring now? I know that you've talked and spoke a little bit toward your mentors, but are you actively mentoring individuals at the moment?
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of times it's not overly formal where, hey, you are, my mentor and kind of assigned, but it's, you're like you said, you're finding people who are, you think are talented people who can continue to grow, that you want to build that deeper connection with in their career to, help them achieve their potential and continue to grow.
I've always been a firm believer. You're like, we were talking about, sometimes it's not as informal. I'm willing to pour. I'm at the place in my life that I'm willing to pour into any vessel that's open to receive. Okay, so that's kind of how I operate. So I love to give and to support and to provide insight when possible. But for me, mentorship is so important. It's such a vital part of how we grow, that I think that I take on a more formalized approach. I want them to know, look, I am your mentor. You are my mentee. My responsibilities for you and toward you are X, Y, and Z. Your responsibilities in this process are to do X, Y, and Z. And if we do that, we can then begin. And so I'm kind of I'm going to put it out there. I'm going to put it in your face. And Frank's on the line. I've had these conversations. Look, this is the role that I have, and this is what I'm going to do. And this is where I need you to be. And if we work in this process, now I think that something that's really important is that we're talking about mentors pouring, but the reality of it, in a real mentorship situation, mentors often learn a great deal about themselves and the person that they're mentoring through the process of mentorship. And so, Frank, I want you to share, because there's a lot that this kid, this young man, he's grown with children, but he's a really smart young man. And then sometimes I just hear him talking. There's things that I learn from him, and I learn, about life and about different things, because mentors should learn also from their mentees. So, Frank, you are now actively mentoring a number of younger people. What are some of the key things that you think are now important to invest in them as you continue that relationship?
I think first and foremost, time, right? So the time that you spend with them, the time you spend listening to them, talking to them, and really trying to get a feel for what it is that they're interested in. I think that's the most important thing.
Can I interrupt you really quick for a second, Frank?
Your mentor's going to tell you where you screwed up, Frank. So.
No. I'm never going to tell you screwed up. But there's a formula, and this is a part. This is out the gate when Frank was, 5-6 years ago, maybe even 10 years, probably 10 years ago. There was a formula I gave you for trust, Frank. Do you remember what it was?
Consistency over time equals trust. Yes.
Okay. And I said that continue because when you were talking about time, it's important that we are continually being investors of time in our mentorship process. But go ahead, Frank. I'll let you continue.
Yeah. So I think the time is vital. And then that formula. So the consistency. All my mentors, especially you, Kareem, have been super consistent in pouring into me and being available for me to bounce ideas off of and really just being a resource, and never steering me or telling me this is what you should do, but really challenging me and asking me or basically challenging me to think about things from a different vantage point, which ultimately helps with the decision-making process.
I think that's an important thing to what he just said. I think great mentors ask questions and provide thought-provocative kind of or different perspectives versus telling people what to do.
And I think that's great. Scott, as you look at this journey, if you were to give 3 things that a young person who is out there looking for a mentor, 3 things that you would think that would be important for them to think of in searching for a mentor, what would those things be?
So off the top of my head, I'm going to say a couple things. I think one, you want to put yourself out there, right? You can't be in a position where you've got tunnel vision in a hole, kind of doing your own thing, right? You want to get out and meet people. I think you want to look for and reflect on what are the things that I'm aspiring to do? How do I want to grow, continue to develop my own skills, and look for that in other people? And then I would be genuine and proactive in trying to develop relationships with those folks, being humble and having the humility to go to them and ask questions and to genuinely take in that feedback, whether it's positive or negative, and improve upon that and continue going back to the well with that relationship that you've built over time.
Okay, that's really good. John.
Something building off of that, as a younger person who's kind of been not in the market for a mentor before, but like trying to figure out how helpful can this person be. it's important for people looking for a mentor and for people who want to be mentors. Tell the person what they're doing wrong. I have waited. I've been talking to someone. I'm like, wow, this person really knows what they're doing. And I've been in situations where I know that I messed something up and they haven't told me. And I've been like, well, how valuable are you as a teacher if you're not going to tell me what I've done incorrectly and help me to fix it? I think that is so important in a mentorship relationship.
I think it's really important because anyone that's on this line that has any measure of success will let you know that the greatest lessons that we learned were from the failures that were made and what we learned in those moments and how to turn those moments around. Mark, if you were to give some key things that you would say for someone who's looking for mentorship, what are some key characteristics that you think would be important?
Of the mentor or
of the mentor, what the mentee look in a mentor?
I would reiterate really what Scott says. I've always looked for people that I admire a skill or a thought or and then I think the other important thing is a little bit to like what Jonathan was saying is you want to make sure that they actually want to be a mentor or would be a good mentor. If someone's going to always beat about in the bush and not be transparent and authentic, they're probably really not going to be a good mentor. And so you've got to look for people who are skilled in those areas, but also who you think will be authentic and willing to engage and spend the time.
Time is so very important. Last comment as Dr. Black runs off to her 2 p.m. meeting. She says that it's important to connect with people who will help develop you, not make you a mini them. That is so vitally important. Oftentimes, I tell people all the time that a mentor is an example. It is a picture of what you can become. And those that I mentor, I always want them to use what I have experienced or anything that I might share and make it your own.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's so vitally important. Scott, really quickly, I'm going to give you 40 seconds to just kind of share with someone out there who's kind of lost and needs some direction, what they might need to do. Give them a word of encouragement in just about 40 seconds.
Lost on the mentorship front?
Yeah, just lost. Yeah, they're in career, not knowing what to do.
I would start with some reflection. What are you trying to do? And I would look for genuine relationships or people that you can build and be vulnerable, right? And I think be open and direct with how you're seeing things that are going in your world, what you want to do, what you want to improve upon, and then build those genuine relationships and rely and lean on people who can help you in certain situations to grow and develop your own self and find your guiding light and in your way.
That is so awesome. Mark, I want to just make sure that while you're in Chicago, because this time flies by so fast, while you're in Chicago, you make sure that while you're looking, did you find any Black Santas down there?
Not yet. They do have them. I haven't seen it. I saw, they have these little Santa candles, and there were a couple Black Santa candles. But I was toying with getting them, but I decided I don't know about that. So,
hey, they can go with that Black Power artwork I gave you for a gift. I want to thank you guys for tuning in and being a part of this conversation. A special shout out to Dr. Sabrina Black. We got to get you back in the studio. You're also always so on point with your conversations and your remarks. Scott, Frank, Mark, certainly thank you. You guys are mentor-mentee relationships. We're all tangled in there, learning from one another. And for those of you who are listening to these conversations, I want you to come back next week and get involved with the same group of individuals, maybe at least Scott, Mark, and John and myself. But we want you to know that we appreciate your listenership. Those of you down there in Joliet, Illinois, we say, hey, welcome aboard. Thank you guys once again. And those here in Saginaw, Michigan Bay region, God bless you all. Grace and peace.